So, Brandon, what happened with your bike at the race?
I had a knock before I did my top end, and I did the top end, and it was still knocking, but I was hoping it would just hold together for the race. Did button willow, and it was okay, so I was like, sweet. Like, it's going to hold together, hopefully. To the race, and it's knocking, but, like, I'm superstitious, so just like, if nobody talks about it,
it'll be fine.
It'll be okay. Like, it'll fix itself.
Just knock on some wood, just pray, it'll be okay.
It's just a crank.
Some people call it superstition, some people call it denial.
It's the same thing.
Some people call it mechanical failure. Went out and made it through the practice day really good. At first I was taking it easy, like I'm just going to memorize the track, and then when it comes to racing, then I'll go fast to try and save my motor. But we all know how that's going to go. Once you get out on a track and you get comfortable, you aren't going to go slow.
You're going to race everyone else that's there.
I started pushing my bike probably harder than I should have, given the condition of my crank. And it held together until I decided to do my hot lap on qualifying. Did a couple slow laps on qualifying, and then I blew the checkered. I was like, I'm going to make this my hot lap. And before that, I was coming down that back straight, and I thought my rear brake had locked up. And so I was like, shit. So I stuck my foot underneath the brake pedal, and I was pulling it up. I thought my lever had stayed down because it's done that before. I don't know why. I had to fix something, but so I was like, it's getting slower. And so I'm like pulling up on my rear brake, trying to make it faster, like thinking the brake's stuck. I go through that.
Brakes suck anyway, so.
I go through that double 90, and then down and around that like flat corner behind the garages, and then I get back on it, and I'm like, why is this thing slow? And so I'm like, go, and I'm holding it wide open. I was like, oh yeah, it's blowing up. And so it sounds like a 12-valve Cummins. It's like, and so I'm just like, well, I'm gonna keep going until it blows up. And then it just got slower and slower and slower, and then the knocking got so gnarly, the bike was shaking, and it blew the metal part out of the spark plug and left the porcelain. So my spark plug wire was just hanging, like flopping in the wind. So I decided to call it after that.
Yeah, it's probably a good sign to shut it down.
When your spark plug's melted. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I gave it my all. You know what I mean? Like just holding it till it blows, and hopefully I was hoping that I would have been able to race, but you know, had I been better prepared, taking the time to do everything right, I would have gotten the race. So
yeah,
I'm not going to take it as a loss, but I'll take it as a lesson. You know what I mean? I know after riding with a couple of the guys, I feel like I would have done pretty well. So I was pretty bummed that I got to miss out on that.
Yeah.
I feel like I could have had some good battles with some people.
I mean, you did try and change the motor.
Yeah.
After qualifying, right?
So after qualifying, called Tony, talked to Joe, and just what their thoughts were on what was wrong, and everybody determined it was a crank. So hit up Greg. I knew he had an extra motor that somebody robbed the top end from the night before, and went over there and made a deal with them. They hooked it up, brought it back, and we had successfully pulled the old engine out, swapped the top end onto the new bottom end, because we got a whole bottom end assembly, and put it all together. But I had 20 minutes to go once we got that done to put it back in the frame. So, you know, I don't think I could have gotten it done, but by then I had to be an adult and call it, because I wanted to support Carson and get him ready for his race. But like, I don't know what I'm doing, but it was a rush, like just taking shit apart.
Like, this goes here, let's find out.
So,
well, I mean, like looking back, like you guys, you know, definitely kept after it until the end. You know, you never threw in the towel or gave up. You know, you tried to do what you could do to, you know, stay in the game, and I think that says a lot too.
I think that's a major part of it.
Sure.
You know, if you fall, you got to get back up.
Yeah.
You know, fall off the horse, you got to get back on it.
Just keep after it. And like you said, like it's not a loss; it's just a good lesson. You know, I think that's a good way to approach racing, because you know, racing it's not always going to go the way you want it to.
No.
And it's like what you learn and what you do differently from those bad days that make you better, you know, in the long run, instead of just being pissed off and, oh, it's this guy's fault, or it's that, you know, this part's fault or whatever. Like, just learn from it, be better prepared for the next go around.
Yeah.
And you'll get better from that. So I think, you know, you got the right attitude.
When I was sitting there, the flaggers see me when the bike went down, and they were asking if like I was okay and everything, and so I told them like keep it going, because I didn't want to stop everybody's qualifying and make them come get me and shit. And that's probably the clearest moments I've had in racing, like since all this started. Like just sitting there, and I had a smile on my face, believe it or not, because it was awesome seeing my brother go by, because I got a front row seat of him going up that hill and watching that transition from the left to the right. His positioning and everything was just spot on. So
cool.
It was cool seeing all the homies and see my brother like go by, and you know I'm a foot away from him,
cheering them on.
Yeah, cheering him on, and I knew like I didn't have any doubt in my mind. You know, up until that point, I did everything that I possibly could. So I couldn't be mad at myself. You know what I mean? Like shit happens.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too sad. Like I knew it was gonna happen. I just
hoped it would have happened.
Yeah, hoped it would have happened like after the race.
Like right after the checkers.
Yeah, like when I like started to move it into the van would have been perfect.
Yeah. So it dumps oil everywhere in the van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about like having to rebuild 2 bikes? Like
definitely wasn't what I expected going into the weekend. I didn't think we'd be in a position where we'd have to tear down a transmission and a motor, but you know, that's what we ended up with, and we made do with what we had. And you know, Tony was able to track down a transmission, and me and the crew were able to get that swapped out and get Tony back on the track for the second round of practice. So
were you guys nervous?
No, I wouldn't say nervous.
Just gotta be prepared for everything, right?
What's it like sending your boss out on the track? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
what happens?
Is it like, go boss, go, or it's like, I hope he doesn't fire me?
Hope his transmission works.
Maybe a little bit of both. No, it's definitely a real proud moment, and like it's something different to watch that.
Hell yeah.
You know, to even being we're not racing, but even being on the sidelines and just being a part of it.
Hell yeah.
There's nothing that describes that.
I think you guys definitely made flat rate on that transmission. That was awesome. Carson, you may ask a question.
Thank you. I'm sitting over here by myself like, here.
I'm just a juice boy.
You shut up.
Okay, well, ask a question.
What am I supposed to ask?
What did Tony think about blowing a tranny in California?
3rd year.
She didn't tell me she was a tranny before.
$20 is $20, man.
So, out there on the race, how did you know that you blew a tranny?
Oh, what do you know?
What was the realization that you blew the tranny?
Instant. I knew it was bad right away. And the worst part of when it happened, so it was right after turn 11, like literally like 20 feet from pit out.
Okay.
You know, is when it happened. So I made that turn.
The double 90s?
No.
Turn 11?
Turn 11 is
one.
the hairpin at the end of the track
okay.
to come back onto the kind of the front straight. And so I had literally just passed the pit out and came around the corner, shifted from second into third, and it just felt like I hit neutral. Like it was just nothing, and it crunched. And at first I thought, because I thought that I was in second, but then I was like, shit, maybe I had lost count. Maybe I was in first and actually hit neutral. So I hit it again, and it engages. So then I'm like, oh, like maybe it was just I hit neutral, and now I'm in second and I'm going, and then I, you know, start to accelerate, and it's just grinding, like, and then, you know, it sucks because I have to make the whole loop again. You know, and so it's just grinding, and you know, and this was literally first practice first lap
Yeah, on race day.
on Friday.
No,
Oh,
it was
it's
practice.
Friday.
On Friday on the practice day. So it was like literally the first time I hit the track. I hadn't even done a full lap yet. And I was like that whole lap around, I was like, damn, like we're done already. Like we're packing it up and heading home after one lap, and I was like super bummed and pissed off, and pull into the pits, and these guys are just all asking like what happened. I'm like, I don't know, like it's not good, but it whatever it is, it's not good. I mean, I'm like, it feels like I lost third gear, because as I was going around the track, I would shift, I was kind of going through the gears to get around the track, and as soon as I would hit third, there was nothing. It was like a neutral, and I could go to second, and I could go to fourth, and it would the bike would accelerate. I mean, it didn't sound good because there was just teeth grinding in there, but yeah. But when I pulled in the pits, these guys, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I mean, we don't have a spare transmission. We don't have tools to do this. Like, and we're like, well, let's not give up, because it's like early Friday morning.
Yeah.
We still had all day to ride. So these guys are like, well, we're going to start tearing into it. Like, we got to tear it apart anyways, whether we have a transmission here or not. Like, might as well get into it, figure out what's wrong with it. I'm like, shit, I'll go
Find a trans.
I'll go see if I can, talk to anybody who might have a spare and see if they'd be willing to sell it or whatever. And,
Oh yeah.
Found one of my buddies had an extra stock transmission, and then we had to borrow tools, like specialty stuff that we didn't have, because I, never thought that we'd be in a position to have to rebuild the transmission on the track. So I tracked down the transmission. These guys had it almost gutted out, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And we just start slamming it back together, and then by lunchtime we kind of had it buttoned up on the lunch break, and I had 4 sessions after lunch, and got out and started at that point after lunch, was just then starting to learn the track.
Yeah.
Because
By then it was warm.
it was warm,
it was
and
nice.
so like I kind of got up to speed pretty quick, and then I made those 4 sessions, and tried to run every lap I could, and felt like I was riding really good. I had some good lap times on Friday afternoon. Felt really good. Like super stoked. Like, so that's what I've been telling everybody. It's like kind of been an emotion. It was an emotional roller coaster of like, oh, we're done. We're done. I'm going home, and then we kind of all rally and rebuild the bike and get back on the track, and I'm riding really good. So it's like we're all stoked and ready to go. And then Sunday morning rolls around, and we end up out in the mud. Like. But yeah, I mean, the transmission swap, kind of like what you said, like, I'm going to take that as a learning lesson, like, and be better prepared with more parts and more tools.
That's what I was going to say.
To be better prepared so that we don't have to scramble and be running up and down the garages, that, borrowing stuff from,
Everyone.
from everybody. So, and that's the thing with these things, you beef up the transmission, and then you discover the next weakest point.
Yep.
Yeah,
And it'll grenade, and we'll find out what that is, and we'll be rebuilding it on the side of the track again. So, but that's racing. I mean, that's anytime you're pushing the limits, there's not a bike out there that's bulletproof. Everybody's dealing with the same issues. More horsepower, you break more parts.
Yeah, less horsepower, less fastness.
Yeah, less fun.
Yeah.
Before we get into this, I should have done a lot better than I did, and I know that. Just putting that out there.
I think we all are in that boat, buddy.
Yeah. You look at my lap times, I was almost 10 seconds faster than the 3 people that beat me. Oh, and I ran into a guy. I didn't tell you that.
Oh.
All right, the guy at the bathroom. What's up, man?
So the guy that was on the Sportster, it blew up in front of me, right? You could just hear it, and black smoke was coming.
In the race?
Yeah, it was coming into turn 11, he blew his bike up right there. It was a black flat track bike, and he had the Vance Hines shorty pipes on it I used to have, right? It was
Yeah,
all
That's the dude. That's the dude
section.
who rebuilt his motor the night before, right?
No, he didn't actually make it out.
Oh, he didn't?
Yeah.
Oh.
So anyways, this dude, and he was going like this, back and forth, and he wouldn't choose a line, so I ran into the back of him in turn 11.
Push his ass out of the way.
And then that's when Joe
He's got
Sanderson
flat
passed
track
me, he's
finger,
gonna just
he's
ran
used to
into him. He pissed me off, because he blew it, and you could just hear it, right? And he was slowing down. doing this, and I just ran into him.
Carson,
Yeah.
last man standing. You're riding really good, qualifying practice. Do you feel like it made a difference after wrecking? Because I know with me, every time I wreck, it takes me a minute to reset. So do you have that?
100%. And it was also really different not having you out there to race, because I really like riding behind you, at least for a couple laps, and I pass you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
You
But
want to go back to Utah the second time?
you want to go back to Sonoma?
No. But I think it definitely does make a difference. Because on that hot lap, I thought that was supposed to be my fastest lap, you know, and I was like, this is the lap, this is what's going to set me up. And at that time, you know, I thought I was doing everything right. I had all my lines picked out, I had all my braking points, and then just to end up sliding for no reason, you know what I mean, it wasn't even necessarily my fault. It's like, it's my fault for running into the oil, you know, but if that oil hadn't been there, what would that time have been?
Right.
And the whole race, that's all I could think about is what would have happened if I was one position ahead of where I started. Or, you know, I mean, just stuff like that. Or coming in that corner, it really sketched me out that entire race. I was definitely braking a lot sooner in that corner, just for that thought of, I'm going to slide out here again, you know, and the same, because it's the same line I had to take that whole race was where I wrecked. So every time I went into that corner, it was in the back of my head the whole time. But I think about 3 laps in, I started to get over it. But by that time, it was pretty much too late to try to catch back up. But overall, I think I did a decent job. Could have done better, but
I think you did good, especially with like going down, just because I know that, you know, that mentally messes with me pretty bad. Every time I go down, it takes me a minute to get up and get going
Readjust.
again. And then especially when you go and you're face to face with that same corner,
Yeah,
or the
10
exact
minutes
same
after you wreck.
situation, you know. So I'm still, you know, I'm proud of you for getting up and getting out, not just giving up, you know, and I don't know.
Well, appreciate it.
I'm proud of everybody here.
my tank's got a really nice dent, you know, the nice tank, pretty tank that Tony had painted for me has a perfect handlebar dent now.
Good news is that we're matching.
Yes. That was a race recap of Sonoma. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more content.
Yeah.
When he said.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.